I do think that it's right that European nations, including the UK, show a willingness to do more in our own collective self-defence. This is a generational moment for that reason. This is not a new issue. It's an issue we've talked about many, many times.
Ahead of an emergency leaders' consultation in Paris to discuss West's participation in a ceasefire, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer has become the first European leader to declare that he is prepared to deploy peacekeeping forces in Ukraine. Last week, U.S. President Donald Trump shocked Ukraine and his European allies by revealing that he had called Russian President Vladimir Putin to discuss ending the 3-year conflict without first consulting them. Kellogg, Trump's envoy to Ukraine, declared on Saturday that Europe would not be allowed to participate in any peace negotiations. Washington, D.C. asked European capitals to respond to a questionnaire on their potential contributions to Kyiv's security guarantees. Starmer, who is scheduled to visit Washington to speak with Trump next week, stated on Sunday that Europe must cooperate closely with the United States because it is facing a once-in-a-generation moment for the continent's collective security.
So I will go to Washington next week to meet President Trump and to discuss what we see as the key elements of a lasting peace, and therefore vital for Britain's national interest. This is a once-in-a-generation moment for the collective security of our continent. Europe must play its role, and I'm prepared to consider committing British forces on the ground alongside others if there is a lasting peace agreement.
He stated in the Daily Telegraph that the end of this war, when it comes, cannot merely become a temporary pause before Putin attacks again. Along with European Union leadership and NATO Secretary-General Mark Rutte, the French president was scheduled to meet with host leaders from Germany, Italy, Britain, Poland, Spain, the Netherlands, and Denmark, which would represent Baltic and Scandinavian nations. The 27-nation EU has demonstrated in dozens of previous summits that it is sluggish, divided, and unable to devise a coherent strategy to put an end to the war in Ukraine. Despite not being a member of the EU, Britain has been a key ally of Ukraine in its struggle against Russian aggression. In addition to stretching European military, whose armament supplies have been exhausted by supplying Ukraine, and who are accustomed to largely depending on U.S. backing for major missions, a peacekeeping force would increase the likelihood of a direct conflict with Russia. According to a French presidential official, Europe needed to do more and better since diplomacy was accelerating. The U.S. asked NATO partners in Europe what they would require from Washington in order to take part in Ukraine's security arrangements in a 6-point questionnaire that was obtained by Reuters on Sunday.